Hello folks, I'm Stanley Santire, and as a mediator that deals with a variety of issues, I'm curious as to why the number of jury trials are declining in the United States. Obviously, a lot of the cases I deal with in mediation are going to eventually go to trial if things do not resolve in the mediation. But there's more than just mediation, the role of mediation in our legal system today that I believe contributes to this decline of jury trials. So what's going on here? And of course, is this good or is this bad for our society? First of all, frankly, I believe that there's three factors that are causing the decline of jury trials. This has been going on now for well over 15 to 20 years. First of all, there's the changes that have taken place in the way that courts treat, that judges, let's be blunt about it, it's the judges treating cases, particularly in federal courts. For one thing, we have enhanced pleading. In other words, the courts are making much more demands on the way that you write your pleadings to make it clear, and they will dismiss that case if your pleading is not sufficient. There's the motions in limine practice. Motion in limine is basically, it is a motion by the other side to exclude information. Well, if you have a lot of information excluded, you may not even have a reasonable basis to proceed with the trial. And third, and this is the most powerful factor, is the extensive use in summary judgment, and again, particularly in the federal courts. Basically, a summary judgment is where you're in litigation, the pleadings have been filed, you've been through discovery, and one or the other, or maybe both parties, go to the court and say, look, Judge, the issues and the facts, the law is so clear on this, we don't need to waste the court's time or anybody else's time on a jury trial. Just make a decision. That's a summary judgment. A second factor is mediation, something I do a great deal of. There's been a dramatic growth in mediation over the past couple of decades, where instead of going to trial, instead of taking that risk, you go to a mediation, you try to work things out. A lot of courts require that you go to mediation because they want to save their courtroom and they want to reduce the docket, of course, and the judges also take the position that if you work something out in mediation, both parties at least have more of a buy-in and a comfort as to what transpires. In fact, in one case, an area that I deal with quite a bit, which is employment law under Title VII and other employment law areas, you actually have mediation twice, what I call a double filter. First of all, when you go through the EEOC process, the administrative process before filing a suit, the EEOC probably is going to put you through a mediation process to resolve things. If you don't, and you get into litigation itself, the judge is most likely going to require you to go through mediation. So this is a dramatic impact on your chances of whether or not you're going to actually get to trial. The third factor is the dramatic growth in arbitration, particularly mandatory arbitration. There's a lot of this being done by employers, where the employee is required to go to arbitration. If you go to an arbitrator is a private individual that makes a decision. You don't see juries and you don't see a courtroom. The arbitrator makes the decision. That's been growing quite a bit. Now, the issue is whether or not this trend is good or bad. That depends on whether or not you believe in democracy, quite frankly. This country was founded as a democracy, and the purest form of democracy is the jury. Every other decision we make in our society is made by our elected individuals in Congress or in the legislature. But in a jury trial, you as individuals sitting on the jury actually make decisions about other people. Whether or not people are part of the system, in other words, in the elimination of the trial system where we don't have juries, where we don't have this direct involvement, there's a question we need to ask, whether or not this lack of involvement, this restriction of involvement, sort of alienates people from the workings of our society. And this is something we need to think about. And I just want to share those ideas with you. I am Stanley Santire, and I appreciate the moments that you've given me here.